Hey, Treasure fans, it's your old pal BD back here again with another weekly movie review. So what I've been trying to do is, and I did this last week with It, is I typically will go see a movie in theaters about once a week. Not every week, but usually once a week. If I don't, I'll watch a couple movies at home. And on those weeks when I don't go to the theater, I will review a movie that I watched from home. But this weekend I did go see a movie in theaters. It was not a new release. It wasn't something that was out recently or anything like that. It was a movie that came out 40 years ago, and that was Star Trek the Motion Picture. I did see this in theaters on Sunday with my wife. Currently, right now, Fathom Events is doing a special promotion in honor of the 40th anniversary. They had 2 showings on Sunday, and there's 2 more showings going to be on this Wednesday evening if you haven't got a chance to go out there yet. And I decided to do this review because I feel like it's due. And the reason why I say that is because my history with the motion picture has always been kind of funny. And the reason why I say that is because when I was a kid, I was 8 years old when this movie came out. This movie came out in 1979. I was 8 years old. Really excited. I've been a big fan of Star Trek since I was like literally 3 years old. So I couldn't wait for this movie to come out. Of course, Star Wars had come out 2 years earlier. And I was really stoked because Star Wars was just like, it blew me away. It's space opera with lots of action, and endearing characters that I absolutely fell in love with. And so I had extremely high hopes for this movie when it came out in theaters. Star Trek. Star Trek was, I was a fan favorite. That was my fan favorite way before Star Wars even came into the scene. So my anticipation for this movie was so, like, I couldn't sleep the night before. I was so excited to go see this movie in theaters. I remember the exact theater I saw it into. I don't remember actually sitting in the theater and doing it, but I do remember standing in line to go in to see it. And I got in the movie theater, we watched it, and I remember walking out of the theater at the time and going, I was okay, but it's an 8-year-old kid. I wanted a lot of action. I wanted a bunch of running around. I wanted phases. I wanted 4 torpedoes. I wanted all that stuff. This movie doesn't have a lot of that stuff. So, even for me, as growing up, it was always the one I didn't watch as much. 2, 3, I would watch those things all the time. 1, I wouldn't watch as much. But as I've gotten older, I've learned to really appreciate this movie a lot more. In that, this movie's got a lot more to it. It's very Star Trek-esque, and it's very much like an original series episode. It's a longer episode that appeared in theaters. But as I've gotten older, I've come to really respect this movie a lot more and understand this movie a lot more and just really like this movie. This movie's really, really grown on me more. It's kind of one of my favorite Star Trek movies now. I mean, I throw this movie in all the time when I'm looking, especially the music. The music in this movie is absolutely amazing, and it's beautiful music. So I throw this movie in all the time. My wife finds me here. Sometimes at night, I'll put this movie on before I go to bed, and she'll come in like an hour later or something like that, and I'm passed out, and movie's playing along, but it's just, I've really grown a big fondness toward this movie. I really love it. And essentially, and I'm going to spoil it for you, because if you got 40 years, you haven't seen it, that's your own fault. But essentially it's been a few years since Kirk and his crew had finished their 5-year mission, and they've all gone off on their own separate ways. Now V'ger, this entity, has come out of nowhere and is threatening Earth. So Kirk and crew get back together again to go help stop this new threat to Earth, which is essentially kind of the plot. But it's more involved. The movie's more involved because essentially what it ends up being is about this machine that's learning, constantly learning and adapting, stuff like that. But the machine is trying to answer these questions that you can't answer logically. Why am I here? What's my purpose? And what the machine does is it needs to find its creator, so the creator can help it answer the questions. It sounds kind of convoluted, but when you watch it, it really makes a lot of sense. As I'm older, my viewing choices have changed. My thought process have changed. I've gone through, since I was 8 years old, I've gone through a whole mess of stuff in my life. So obviously my views on the world and my views on just how everyday things go are much different now than they were when I was 8 years old, when I was 10 years old, when I was 20 years old, even when I was 30 years old. They're much different now. And I like this movie so much so because of the fact it does make you answer those questions. Why am I here? What's my purpose? It's kind of those driving factors that every human being thinks the same thing. What's the purpose of all this? And it tries to address those things. And I really like it. What I thought was absolutely amazing was I took my wife to go see it. It's the only Star Trek movie she's never seen. She's seen all the rest of them. This is the only one she hasn't seen. And she sat down and watched it, and the first thing she noticed was she's like, wow, the special effects were really good. She's all, well, these are all digital effects. And I actually looked over and I go, no, sweetheart, these are not digital effects. These are some optical effects. This is filmed in 77, 78. There's no digital back then. There's no like you do now where you do a live action sci-fi movie and all the spaceships are all digital. Everything's digital. This is all models. models and optical effects. That's all this was, and it looks beautiful. Now, the print that Fathom Events showed was the original print, this original print, not the remastered edition where they cleaned up some of the special effects and stuff like that. It was the original way it was presented in theaters. And I gotta tell you, it looked amazing. This movie is really meant to be on the big screen. It is grand in scale, grand in sound, grand in just everything. It looked amazing. Even I was taken aback because I don't remember, it was such a long time ago. I was 8 years old. So I don't really remember the whole aspect of it sitting down in the theater, but sitting there watching it yesterday, I was completely blown away. It looked amazing. I saw stuff I'd never seen before in there, and it just looked incredible. Even my wife was completely taken aback. She can't believe how good it looked. And then to the fact that this movie is now 40 years old, the special effects still hold up to this day is a true testament to the creators of this movie. Robert Weiss did an incredible job with this movie. He had a big task. He literally had to make a movie from a defunct TV show that was canceled after only 3 seasons. As a matter of fact, it barely got that 3rd season. They wanted to cancel after season 2. They brought it back for season 3 and then canceled it. So literally 10 years later, they put a movie out for a canceled series. This doesn't happen. That didn't happen back then in Hollywood. It does now. Look at my most recent one I can think of is obviously Serenity, based upon the Firefly TV show. But it just didn't happen back then. So yeah, there's going to be a lot of problems. There's going to be some script issues and some issues with stuff like that because of the fact that it never really been done before. But I have a greater appreciation for this movie now than I ever have. And especially seeing on the big screen, I was completely blown away. The music is incredible. It was Jerry Goldsmith, wasn't it? Jerry Goldsmith, yeah. Just amazing score. I actually have the CD, the special edition CD soundtrack for this movie, and I listen to it every once in a while. It's just got so much cool sound to it. It's just really well done. It's great to see the cast back, on the big screen. I really highly recommend it. If you get a chance, go see it. I love this movie. I really do. Now, when I was 8 years old, I would have given this movie probably a 2 out of 10. Even though I was a big Star Trek fan back then, it just bored me. As an adult, this gets an 8 now. 8 out of 10 at the age I'm at now. I really, really like this movie a lot. I think it's very underappreciated for what it is, for what it did. Without this movie, there's no 2 through the rest. There's not. This is what brought Star Trek back, because everybody says how bad it is. It still did $48 million. I think it was $48 million in the theaters, which if you adjust for gross was like $405 million for today's standards. But it made money. It did well. Obviously, 2 did better, and 4 did really, really well. But it still did enough to where it brought, it still brought everything back, and it allowed Star Trek to be on the big screen, and it allowed Star Trek to stay alive. This show, gone. This movie comes back, and now Star Trek is what it is now, and what we're in the 52nd, 53rd year of Star Trek now. I mean, just absolutely amazing. And as a fan like I am, and I'm a tremendous fan, obviously, I say live long and prosper every one of my videos. It was great to see it on the big screen. I really, really enjoyed it. I really highly recommend it. It's a good movie. Visually, it's beautiful. It does lose stuff coming down to the small screen. It just does. It was filmed to be grandiose, 70 millimeter, So I wish they put out a 4K. If they put a 4K out of this thing, I'd buy it in a heartbeat. I am not kidding you. I've heard rumors they may be doing 4Ks of these movies, but yeah, I will totally get it when it does. These aren't the only 2 copies of this movie I own. I have it on VHS. I got it on Laserdisc. I got it on a couple other DVDs and a couple other Blu-rays. I got it on box sets, stuff like that. So I actually have several copies of this movie. I actually have a steelbook of this too. But I really, really liked it. If you get a chance, even if you're not a Star Trek fan, try to see it in the theaters when you get a chance, because you'll be blown away. It looks beautiful. It looks like it was filmed now. It really does. The special effects hold up that well. So thank you guys all for watching. I know it's a little bit long. Leave me some comments down below. I'm sure some comments are going to be like, well, I can't believe you like that. That's the stupidest one. That's fine. I don't mind. I would love to have a conversation with people about it and explain more reasons why I do love it. And I do have a great affinity for it now. But leave me some comments down below. Also, click the subscribe button if you want some more videos by BD. Click the little bell at the top. You get notified when I put new videos. Thank you guys all again for watching this. Everybody take care and always keep hunting out there, because you never know what you're going to find. And as always, live long and prosper. Kind of self-serving almost. Goodbye.